Hello there, my name's Angela, and Explore Churches, that's the tourism wing of the National Churches Trust, have asked me to make these series of videos about making videos of churches. Hopefully, with the tips I'm going to share with you today, you'll be able to make better videos of your church and get people exploring your church. Underneath each video, you will find links which will take you to any gadgets that I recommend, any software that I recommend, and any videos by other people and organisations that I want you to watch for inspiration. The advice I give with all my training sessions is if you want to know how to do a specific thing with your specific make and model, type that make and model into Google along with the question. But not only that, make sure that you're searching Google for the very latest articles, and it's easy to do that if you know how. The same if you're looking for a YouTube tutorial, be very specific in the make and model of your camera or phone, and using the filter button, which is not easy to find but it's on there. You can also make sure that you're searching for the latest videos, and you can also look for the most popular videos to make sure that they're high quality. So when you're planning your video for your church, the fundamental question you have to ask yourself is, what do you want that video to achieve? Obviously, you want people to visit your church, but also, do you want them to make a donation? Do you want them to share the video in social media? Do you want them to email the video to their friends? What action do you want people to take when they've watched your video? Answer that question before you start planning the video out. It's also really worth profiling your kind of ideal audience, your ideal visitor for your video. What kind of age are they? What kind of interests do they have? Perhaps you would think of them as somebody that would be a member of the National Trust. Do you want to engage a younger audience? Should your video have faster edits to do that? Also ask yourself, what kind of imagery would your audience respond to, and what kind of language would they prefer to be spoken to in? When you have all those answers down on an old-fashioned piece of paper, you have a profile of your ideal audience for your video and what actions you want to take, and that can underpin everything you plan for your video and make it hugely successful for your church. One of the main things you need to think about, obviously, is the visuals that are involved in your video, and particularly the thumbnail that's going to show on the likes of YouTube and Facebook. What image can you show that will really grab people's attention and make them want to watch the video? So the National Trust used a very clever trick with their video. They broke the skinny dip world record at one of their beaches in aid of Marie Curie UK. As you can see from the thumbnail, there's a hint of lots of nudity, and this has got a lot of views because of this. We are not recommending you use this trick, although the Women's Institute have also used it in their famous calendar girls. But it just shows you that clever use of image in a thumbnail really draws people in. Other things that really work are, of course, things like food, children, animals, and your gorgeous church. So if you concentrate on those kind of images for your thumbnail image, they will really hook viewers in from the start. All directors for film and television use a storyboard to plan out the content of their film. This looks a little bit like a comic strip, and it shows frame by frame the story that the film's going to tell and the order that story is going to be told in. Here's a storyboard that my company produced for an animation that we created. For the kind of video production you're doing, a storyboard may be overkill. If you have somebody who's very artistic on your team, then by all means create one. It's a fantastic way of visualizing the whole film. If you don't have that creative skill on your team, a very effective way of achieving the same thing is buying a bunch of post-it notes and writing down all the scenes and all the items that you want to cover, and perhaps all the people that you want to talk to, placing them all on a table and then moving them around until they make natural sense. Then obviously you can take a photo of the final set of post-it notes, and that can effectively give you a storyboard without the need to be incredibly artistic about it. If you're planning to interview somebody as part of your church video, it's a really good idea to let them know the questions in advance and even do a dry run of the interview. You're not supposed to be Jeremy Paxman here. You're not supposed to make them uncomfortable and put them on the spot. Give them time to prepare. Give them time to go through their answers. Be willing to do a few takes to get the best interview and make them very happy with their contribution to your video. The most successful videos and television programs often are a beautiful balance between informing people and entertaining them. The top-class documentaries hit this balance perfectly. If you have somebody who's playing a presenter role in your video, ask them to be much warmer than they would be in real life. Use very open and generous body language. Smile a lot more than you perhaps would do in normal conversation. Like your church building, the emphasis should be on welcome and warmth with big, friendly body language. And you do have to turn the warmth of your personality up for it to make it through to the video. If you watch the likes of David Attenborough and take note of his enthusiasm for his subject, and the likes of Fiona Bruce, and takes the warmth she gets across, while still being somebody that you respect, those are the kind of notes you want to follow with this. I always say with my video training to start with baby steps, to start with a single piece of footage that doesn't need editing. So for example, if somebody has a lot of enthusiasm for one of the objects in your church, then just set the camera rolling with them and ask them to talk about it for perhaps a minute. That's one video in the bag that people will enjoy watching because the person's enthusiasm will come across. Or perhaps you could do a video of somebody approaching your church, especially if it has a lovely location. Have somebody walk up to the church and shoot the video over their shoulder as they go in. That's a great way of saying, my church has a lovely location and here's how to find us. Or perhaps if you have an event in your church, walk slowly around, stopping at each store so the person watching the video gets a feel for what it will be like to go to that event. These are all simple single-shot videos you can do which have a great impact on the people that watch them and make them want to come along and explore your church. So I'm now going to talk about all the types of shots you can gather to create an interesting video. So by varying the shots in the video, same as you would vary the food in a buffet, you keep people interested, you keep them coming back for more. So a key shot for you to get for your church video is what we call the establishment shot, which is the church building and its surroundings. And this should appear very early in the video because it establishes where you are and the location. So it's very important to get that establishment shot, hold it on screen for perhaps 5 seconds so people think that's where we are and they feel a sense of ease, yes. They're happy for the story to unfold from that establishment shot. When you move on to editing your video, you obviously want to get lots of different types of shots in the can so that your final edit's going to be lovely and varied. And I'm just going to run through the classic types of shots, the video editor's toolkit, if you like, that you can easily do with your own camera or your phone. So the most obvious one, and the one that we're doing right here, is the fixed camera. I'm looking at a camera that's fixed on a tripod, and I'm talking to that camera. And these are great for when somebody is talking to camera, and they are best done with a tripod. The next type of shot I'm going to talk about is a pan, and that's where you have the camera and you move quite slowly in one direction, although you yourself stay in one place. So you can pan from the left to the right, and you can pan up and down. It's really important not to go too fast. It's not the same kind of speed as when you move your head. You have to go quite slowly, otherwise your viewers are going to start feeling dizzy. And it's a great way to take in the landscape or take in the scope of the interior of your church. And those are called pans. There is a piece of equipment that filmmakers use called a Steadicam, which is a complicated rig which the operator wears, which holds the camera steady even if they're walking along. So this enables a director to get a lovely smooth footage that seems to be coming through a person's eyes. They could be following another person while doing this. If you buy a gimbal, which is a device with a handle, which smooths out your footage, your Steadicam attempts will be smoother. You can also smooth out footage in most editing software to get that Steadicam effect. You can evoke the feel of the Steadicam footage without the expensive equipment by walking very carefully and very slowly and holding the device at the same level all the time. Also, when you're planning to do shoots for your video, I want you to think about lots of different angles that you can take. So we've got the obvious one, which is your eye level pointing at the world, but there's so much more than that. Think about the level that a child sees your church, or even put your video on the floor and video people's feet coming into the church. Point your camera at the ceiling if you have a beautiful ceiling in your church. If you're lucky enough to have a tower that's accessible, obviously you need to get up there and get a lovely pan of the whole landscape from up there. Or if you have a gallery area in your church, that's another opportunity to show people what it looks like from up there. Also, if your church has beautiful tiles or beautiful ledger stones, don't forget to point your video camera downwards and capture those. You can maybe pan down the ledger stone so people can read the story of the person who's buried there. Also, using that Steadicam approach, you can go round, completely round a beautiful object in your church, such as the font or the pulpit, to show all its beautiful features off. Another way to bring variety into your final video is to do close-ups and distance shots. For example, you want to show perhaps your church in the landscape from perhaps even a mile away. If you're videoing a stained glass window, clearly you want to show the whole window, but also zoom in close to show off those gorgeous details. So get the variety between really close up, medium distance and far away to tell the story of your church. Most phones and cameras do have the facility to zoom in and zoom out. And yes, you can use this in your videos, but do so with a very light touch. It can be a lot of fun to zoom in and zoom out when you're making a video, but often for the viewer, it can get very boring. So please only use the zoom very occasionally. Here's a video we recently created for Explore Churches with quite a fast edit because we want to attract a younger audience with this particular video. Have a look and see how many of those filming techniques that I've just mentioned you can see at work in this video. What I'm going to talk about here is the rule of thirds, which you are welcome to Google and you may have already heard about. And what this basically means is that you should place the subject of your image, the thing that you want people to focus on in this part of your video, along that line or along that line, and ideally where the two lines intersect in these 4 points. If you want to interview somebody, you generally put their head on that cross line there. So the idea is when you compose shots for your video, be aware of this grid, not only to get things straight, but to place the thing that you want people to pay attention to in these areas. I'm now going to talk to you about something called cutaways. So if you're taking footage of someone talking to camera, as I am doing, to break up the footage and add more interest, editors will put in what they call cutaways, which is other footage highly relevant to what the person's saying. So, for example, if you're filming somebody who's cleaning something in your church and talking about how they're doing that and what they're using, you will cut away to their hands at work and then you will cut back to their face talking and so on. And it makes a much more interesting overall video than just showing them talking or just videoing them from far away. You may also want to use captions on your video to give more information about what people can see. For example, if somebody's talking, you should give their name and perhaps their qualification. Are they a local historian, for example? If you're showing your church, you should obviously caption that with the name of the church and the location, and perhaps even the county, because people might not know that. You can also use captions to confirm when an event was, such as this might be the Christmas fair from 2020. And it's important to know that because when people look back on the video, that's not information they're going to remember and they would enjoy that reminder. To get more advanced with the idea of text on your videos, you can also add subtitles and closed captions. And we're going to put a link in the bottom of this video which explains how to do this on Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, it's really important for people that are deaf or hard of hearing to have those subtitles, but also a lot of people, when they're viewing social media, they're doing it in situations where they don't want the sound on. So subtitles and captions on a video are a way of reaching a wide audience that may be watching with the sound turned down. Most modern cameras and phones have a time-lapse setting to their videos, which effectively speed time up. And there's many opportunities in a church where this can be really useful. For example, you may want to take a time-lapse video of you walking up to your church, so you will effectively look like you're walking at speed to your church. This is great if your church approach is very beautiful. And if your church is kind of hard to find, it's a great way of showing people how you get there from the main road. Time-lapse can also be used if your church is being prepared for an event. You can set the time-lapse up on a tripod in the corner, and then you can watch people milling around at great speed, dusting, tidying, moving things about, putting up banners, and it's great fun to watch. Time-lapse can also be hugely powerful if you're able to set the camera up next to your church as clouds are passing overhead. When they're speeded up, the clouds obviously come across at great speed and the lights will probably change and it looks really dramatic. In the same way, you can also set a time-lapse up of the sun setting or rising over your church. You'll need to be sat there for perhaps 40 minutes, so why not take a bottle of wine and a picnic and enjoy the view yourself. So here's a time-lapse I took with my phone of my family on holiday in Scotland, just to show you how effective it is and how easy this is to just take with the phone in your pocket. So the opposite of time-lapse is slow motion, which is available on most smartphones and cameras. And obviously this slows action down that may be too fast to be appreciated in real life. Now I can hear you thinking not a lot happens in a church at great speed, which is true, but there are a few events that are worth slowing down, such as bell ringing, I would say was quite a fast activity. Also, children or pet dogs running around the churchyard would look fantastic slowed down. Also, when it snows at your church, that is a perfect time to get a slow motion shot because you'll find that snowfall looks absolutely stunning with a bit of slow motion applied. And once again, I have some slow motion footage that I took on holiday in Scotland with my smartphone. So you can see the kind of quality that is possible with just this little device in your pocket. So one way to get a fantastic and informative video about your church is to use a narrator, which is somebody who speaks off camera and tells the story that the footage shows. You may have somebody local who's very knowledgeable or very passionate about your church. And the way to do this is to sit down and talk to them first and capture that voiceover first and then take the footage to fit. There are voice recording apps available, but it is quite easy to do that by taking video footage of them to get the voiceover and then mixing it with the video footage of your church. When you're getting that person to talk, ask them to talk a little slower than they would in real life and ask them to smile quite a lot as they talk, as you can actually hear a smile in someone's voice and it will come through in the voiceover.